And now, the For Pete's Sake podcast, hosted by Rob Blackman and Joey Mulinaro.
And welcome, everyone. It is For Pete's Sake, the official podcast of Purdue Athletics, and this is episode number 5, our basketball primer preview and episode. I'm Rob Blackman. The next voice you will hear is that of my broadcast partner, Joey Mulinaro. We thank you for joining us, and we hope you are as excited about this episode number 5 as we are, because as I mentioned, we're going to be talking a whole lot of Purdue hoops. Women's head basketball coach Katie Geralds will be our guest today, as will the head coach of our men's basketball program, Matt Painter, which makes for an easy segue for me, Joey, to promote the fact that the Purdue Boilermakers, as we found out earlier this week, for the first time in school history, the number 1 team in the country in the preseason poll, the Associated Press's Top 25 came out early this week, and for the first time ever, at least in the preseason poll, Purdue's number 1.
Hey, I think that's a round of applause right there. Round of applause all around, and I know it's going to be you're saying in your car. I'm sure we'll hear from Coach Painter that it's not how you start, it's how you finish. But to be fair, my opinion, it's hard to get married without having the first date, and you hope the first date goes well. And right now, seemingly, it's going swimmingly, right? So historic start to what is hopefully going to be a historic season.
Look, I think most of us that are certainly, not even, I was going to say close to the program, even you're just a fan of the program, kind of felt like all summer long Purdue was probably going to be number 1 in that preseason AP poll, but until you had it validated on Monday when we actually saw it, man, it felt nice, didn't it?
It sure did. Yeah, the way you just wanted to, I know not on Instagram, but the way I shared that number 1 Stitch jersey that Purdue basketball put out, man, it was a source of pride. It was very, very cool and just exciting times. Great episode coming up today.
I still remember when Purdue was ranked number 1 for the first time in school history. I'm not going to share that story with you now. I will share it with when Coach Painter joins us, but I remember thinking at that time, wow, this is what it feels like to be on top. And here we are again, and this time to start the season. By the way, fans, you want to get a glimpse of our Boilermakers, both men's and women's basketball teams. This coming Saturday will be your chance to do it. 10 a.m. Mackey Arena Fan Day for both men's and women's hoops. The women will actually take the floor at 10 a.m. for a controlled scrimmage and practice, and then there'll be between games, between the women's game and the men's scrimmage game, there'll be an autograph session at Mackey with the men taking the floor at about 1 o'clock or so Saturday. So your first chance to get an up-close and personal glimpse of what the number 1 team in the country looks like. Our Purdue Boilermakers on the men's side, again, they'll hit the floor at 1 o'clock Saturday at Mackey. Women will take the floor at 10 a.m. With that, we'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll jump right in with both feet. This is For Pete's Sake, the official podcast of Purdue Athletics. I'm Rob, he's Joey, and we hope you're buckled in for what should be a great show here today. Thanks again, everyone, for making some time for us today. Still to come later in the broadcast, we visit with the Purdue men's head basketball coach, Matt Painter, and Purdue women's head basketball coach, Katie Geralds. For now, it's time for our Lafayette Limo Liftoff segment. Lafayette Limo, family-owned, women-owned, serving Greater Lafayette for over 38 years. Shuttles to and from Indianapolis and O'Hare airports 365 days a year. Make your reservations now at LafayetteLimo.com. Lafayette Limo, proud sponsor of Purdue Athletics. Joseph, what do you got?
Hey, since the last time we talked, Rob, the volleyball team was out west. They were Hollywood swinging, as I was saying, out there. Yeah, a little in Boogie Down. You know, a little bit of Hollywood swinging. Yeah.
Back in the day,
sure.
I did a little boogieing.
He did the old cut a rug. Coach Shondell's team was cutting a rug. Hollywood swinging. They were down 0-2 to UCLA, and they came back and won that one. That was the reverse sweep, as we call it, right? Right there. And then they swept USC. So a successful trip out west for the volleyball team. But then coming up this week, Purdue and IU going to meet Thursday at Gainbridge Fieldhouse for the Monon Spike Trophy. It's going to be the first of 2 meetings this year between the two teams. The season finale in Mackey Arena, Saturday, November 29th. Don't forget, tickets are still available now.
Big mistake by Indiana University Volleyball. That's their home game they're giving up. And I have a feeling the Boilermakers are going to take over Gainbridge Fieldhouse Thursday. They gave up a home game to feel like the visitor. That's a request for you, Purdue volleyball fans. Let's fill up Gainbridge Fieldhouse on Thursday night. Listen, earlier this week here at Purdue, we did have a bit of a significant event with our men's tennis team. That's because Alexa Krivakovic And my Primsel of Purdue men's tennis actually won the regional doubles championship. Why is that a big deal? Well, it means they get to go to the NCAA doubles championships, which means they're the first men's doubles tennis team to make it to the NCAA doubles championships since 2001.
Long time coming.
That's a long time coming.
Yeah, not too bad. All right. Number 22, the wrestling squad opens up its preseason on Saturday with its annual wrestle-offs in Holloway. That's going to be Team Gold versus Team Black. 10 matches to determine who's going to be in the season starting lineup. You got to remember Purdue returns rising superstar. How about this? Boilermakers already know. Junior Joey Blaze.
Stud.
Blaze. Don't want to mess with that guy who's become Purdue's youngest national finalist since 1950 last season at the 157-pound rank. He moves up to his more natural weight class this year, 165. So add a little bit of muscle, a little bit of poundage there. He's currently ranked number 3 in the country in that weight class. Some very exciting times for the Boilermaker wrestling squad and Joey Blaze starting this weekend.
What a season he had last year. Runner-up for the national title. I want to mention this. This is actually from a couple of weeks ago from our women's golf team and sophomore Samantha Brown from Westfield. We taped our broadcast episode number 4 in the morning a couple of weeks ago. Later that afternoon, little did we know that Samantha Brown was going to have a hole-in-one in a tournament in Chicago called the Windy City Classic. A hole-in-one for Samantha Brown. Now, that's pretty cool. As a par 3, 135 yards, used her 9-iron, from what I understand. But what makes this equally cool, she's a sophomore, Joe, a sophomore at Purdue. And already in 2 short seasons, not even 2 full seasons in a Purdue uniform, that's her 3rd hole-in-one.
My goodness.
Let me tell you how many hole-in-ones I have in my lifetime. 0.
Big goose egg. Yeah. I mean, what's the saying? It's, 1's an accident, 2 is a mistake, 3 is a habit, right? Whatever that saying is that once you get past the second time, 3, now it's just a habitual thing, obviously. That's what you're doing now.
3 holes in 1.
Congratulations. Big time. Let's round things out here, Rob, in the Lafayette Limo Liftoff segment. Soccer hosts Penn State at Folk Field Thursday at 7 p.m. and then Northwestern again at home on Sunday at 6 p.m. If you can't make it out to Folk Field, they are going to be on Big Ten Network. It is the final 2 home games of the season. And then, of course, they have one more road trip to Minnesota next Sunday before hosting the Big Ten Soccer Championship here in West Lafayette. So hoping for some victories there to have the soccer team make an appearance.
That's right. Soccer, Big Ten tournament right here in West Lafayette. All right, now let's talk about what you and I have been dying to talk about, Purdue football. Did you not feel like we were the better team Saturday night at Minnesota?
I mean, everything besides the final scoreboard, I think that's totally fair to say.
Yeah,
Rob.
I was so pleased with how well our team played outside of, and I know this is a bit of a cop-out, outside of the turnovers and the penalties, holding Minnesota to just 30 yards rushing. Minnesota, one of the perennial rushing teams in our league. Purdue moving a ball up and down the field, whether it was passing or rushing. Devin Mockabee, 98 yards, just 2 yards shy of a 100-yard game for him. It just felt like Purdue controlled that game start to finish, except for, and again, I know, ifs and buts, the turnovers and the penalties at ill-opportune times. All that being said, I couldn't be more pleased with the direction of our football program. I was so pleased with how well our team played Saturday outside of the final score.
Yeah, absolutely. I texted one of my buddies who's a huge Purdue fan, Purdue alum, and that game was in grasp. I mean, you could feel that, as the clock wound down the third quarter, you start the fourth quarter, you're saying, hey, we've got a really good chance here to come away with a road victory, first Big Ten victory, first victory on the road this season, which will all be great things. I mean, you mentioned Purdue outgained Minnesota 456 to 262 total yards. I mean, that's an absolute dominant performance. That's not just, hey, we're going to squeak out of here with a win. That's a dominant performance. But like Coach Odom talked about post-game, like he talked about in his weekly press conference, I mean, when you turn it over 4 times, you only get 1 back. And then, oh, by the way, on one of those turnovers, they get 7 points. It's just almost impossible to overcome.
Now, Purdue has certainly shown some impressive individual efforts. Michael Jackson leading the Big Ten right now in receptions. If you just want to look at league games, he's getting eight catches per game. Up next for Purdue, Saturday afternoon in Evanston against Northwestern. Northwestern coming off a huge win, one of the biggest wins in their program's history, winning at Penn State this past Saturday. It's a 3 o'clock kickoff, Purdue and Northwestern. Boilermakers, we've beaten Northwestern 53 times throughout history, the second most of any Big Ten opponent outside of Indiana. It feels to me like, hopefully this doesn't come back to bite me. I will knock on wood.
I'll do it too. Got it.
But it feels like Purdue is in a prime position Saturday going up to Evanston. If we can continue to play like we have played on both sides of the football, especially up front, like Purdue played at Minnesota, and if, again, a big if Purdue can just take care of the football, I like our chances up there Saturday.
I do too. And it is a little bit of that, okay, what you saw from the Illinois game where offense put up a lot of points. Defense was having a hard time stopping anything. Then you go up to Minnesota, offense turns it over, some costly penalties, and then the defense played really, really well and gave you plenty of an opportunity. So now, okay, can you go on the road? Can you put it all together? As we know that Coach Odom and the staff is working every single day, every single second to try to make happen. But the bigger point is that both sides are there. Both sides of football, that level of play is there, and you just hope this weekend's the weekend that you can put it together, get, again, that road win, that first Big Ten win, and then you come back to Ross-Ade the following weekend for homecoming against Rutgers, and you're looking at, turn your season around. So positives have been abound. Let's just put it together this weekend.
Never easy up at Northwestern, make no mistake about it. And keep in mind, that game Saturday is being played at their temporary stadium, Martin Field.
I was going to say, what's your vantage point? Do you know? Is that a weird one?
Have not done a game up there in that. Well, two things. This will be our first time for Purdue football playing up there in the temporary facility. We've played all of our other games at Ryan Field over the years. The great irony, this will be the final game played at the temporary facility. All the rest of Northwestern's home games this year will be played at Wrigley Field since it's now open for the rest of the fall.
Thank you for that reminder. That's great.
But here's a little... Hey,
what a partner.
Here's a little stat you can impress your friends with. Purdue will be playing the final game at Martin Field, the temporary home of the Wildcats, on Saturday. Purdue also played the final game at Ryan Field before Northwestern basically blew up the building and is now in the midst of building a brand new football stadium. Purdue basketball played in the final game at Welsh Ryan Arena before they renovated that building. So why Northwestern continues to schedule Purdue for the final home game at their particular facility before they scrap the thing, I'm not sure. But a little bit of just a little bit of insider knowledge. Impress your friends. Did you know?
Well, I got to text them that right now.
Do it. Send them a text.
That is so big time.
Send them a text. And I can brag on myself. I've been there. Well, I'm assuming I'll be there Saturday. I've been there for all three events. The last one in Welsh Ryan Arena, the last one at Ryan Field, and now the last one at Martin Field.
What were the outcomes of the previous two?
We won in football, didn't we? I have to look around for some help here. Oh, we lost in football. Pretty sure we won in basketball, but you're asking me to remember the final score?
No, I remember that
final
score. Just if
we won a lot. I don't actually remember.
All right, well, bring home a W, Rob. Send them packing.
All right, enough football. We're talking Purdue basketball when we come back on the other side of the break. Matt Painter, he'll remember if we won that game, by the way, at Welsh Ryan Arena. I'll ask him. He'll be our guest. The Boilermakers are ranked number 1 in the country for the preseason Associated Press poll. Coach Painter, in his 21st season as the boss of Boilermaker basketball, he'll join us next to talk all things Purdue men's hoops. That is coming up next on For Pete's Sake, the official podcast of Purdue Athletics. And it's time now for our big interview segment. The big interview segment brought to you today, as it always is by your Central Indiana Ford dealers, proud sponsors of Purdue Athletics. Visit your Central Indiana Ford dealer today. And as promised, time to talk Purdue men's basketball with head coach Matt Painter. I went back and looked, Coach Painter, at some of the numbers from 2 years ago, the team that plays for the national championship against UConn. 4 things jumped off the page at me. We were the second best rebounding team in the country that year, plus 11.6. Second best three-point shooting team in the country, 40.6 as a team. 27-1 when the turnovers were 13 or less, with the only one being the national championship lost. Correct. And the defensive field goal percentage was 41.6. Of the 4 categories I just mentioned there from 2 years ago, if there's one that you would say, if we could take that number and put it in this year's team, we're going to really be cooking here.
Rebounding. Without question.
Yeah.
We ended up 3rd, 4th, or 5th in transition efficiency offensively last year, but our volume was low because we couldn't rebound. And now if we can rebound, he is so good in transition. And so we work, and you could say, okay, you're bigger and TK's at the 4, but it really comes down to Braden's push and then those 2 wings running. That's what it really comes down to. And so we spend a lot of time on that quick outlet, getting out of the gates after we box out and those wings running, and then being able to play. The one thing in basketball is, like, if you're not scoring off the offensive glass and you're not scoring off a transition and you're just scoring in the half court and that's it, man, you're making it hard on yourself. You're just, and that's what we all work on. We all work on half court efficiency, but you have to be able to let your defense help your offense. And I always tell that because we're a more offensive team. And I always tell them, like, the more you take good shots, the more you take care of the ball, the more you set your defense. You want them going at a set defense. Well, on the flip of it, you don't want to go against a set defense all the time. You want those offensive rebound, kick out threes right there where you're stepping in. You want those long rebounds being turned into points on the other end. A missed layup at one end should be a made layup at the other. So those things are, like, so important for us, is how do we offensive defensive rebound, and then how do we do in transition? Like, you gotta steal points there, and I feel we will.
A little bit more bigger picture here, but I'm so curious about, keeps getting more individualistic in our society, especially when you're dealing with younger people like you do every single day. How do you just continue to build a culture and a program that is more of the sum of the parts rather than the individual?
Right. Yeah, it's just, looking at their skill level and looking at their passion. The one thing that a lot of people don't look at from a skill standpoint, people are born athletic. People aren't born skilled. So that's work. So, like, just because your dad was a good shooter doesn't make you a good shooter. But if your dad was a high jumper, you could be born a high jumper, right? And so, like, when you find, and I organically kind of came to this because when you find those guys that can really shoot the basketball, they've just put in more time. Sure, they have to have good mechanics, but they've just put in more time than other people. And then now you get a room full of good big guys and a bunch of skill, and then you throw a great point guard in there, you're going to have a pretty good team. So the balance of it was skill. The skill gives you spacing to play. Now you have to run good stuff. Like, we ran a lot of really good stuff with Ryan Klein and Carson Edwards that one year. And we don't do as much as that because it doesn't fit some of our other guys. So now trying to find stuff, for Fletcher Lawyer in that mix and in that grab, and because, like, he's a deadly 3-point shooter. So, like, when you take guys, you got to be able to do it. But Fletch got himself in there as our second or third guy, in his 3 years. And so when you look at that, you're like, okay. But if Fletch never would get himself in there and say he was our sixth man, he wouldn't get, he doesn't get as much as he should anyways. But, like, Trey Kaufman-Wren's percentages were so good, especially at the end of the game. So good. And Braden Smith, and how he plays and how he passes speaks for itself. So that piece of it is just, putting a team together. Like, sometimes you don't know who your main guys are going to be. So what I tell them in recruiting is, if you become one of our top 3 scorers, we're going to run a lot of really good stuff for you. And then the next question is, well, what if I don't? Well, you're going to have to fill in with those 3 guys then.
Yeah.
But that's a YMCA team. That's a high school team. That's a college team. That's an NBA team. Like, if you go to the Celtics, you are not going to leapfrog Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. It doesn't mean you can't have a role like Derek White and Al Horford and Peyton Pritchard, because you can.
Yeah.
But you better fit in with those guys, because if you don't, then you don't play. But they also look at it like, who fits with our main pieces. So sometimes I don't know in the future who our main pieces are going to be. And so, like, they decide that. They want you to give them the answer in recruiting.
Sure.
And I don't give them the answer. You come in here and you earn it, you get it. You don't earn it and you get beat out, because things are relative. Because if you can say all you want and then Kevin Durant walks in the door and you promise that kid something, you're going with Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Right? And so, like, but if you never promised him anything, now you can piece it together. You're just in a good position. You're able to do that. But now if you can do it over a long period of time, now people build trust in you, especially decision makers, especially AAU guys, high school guys, word of mouth. Now they're like, hey man, like, the guy at Purdue's not going to lie to you. You can trust his staff. Brandon Brantley's a good dude. I know PJ Thompson. I know his dad. Like, you just go on and on. Paul Lusk has been in the business a long time. You can trust him, you know? And so, like, when you have a staff and you have people like that, because at the end of the day, you can talk about your business or my business or whatever. It's a people business.
Yeah.
And so, like, when you have trust with other people and you shoot people straight, and like other day, somebody said to me, goes, man, you guys, you got a chance to be preseason number one. You know, like, you can even go get better players now. I said, I don't want better players. I want the same people we've been getting, because I want to have fun too. I have fun with these guys. Like, this is fun. Like, this isn't just like coaches talk. Like, there's times you don't have fun. People got to realize that. There's time if you get someone who's a really good basketball player and he's a pain in the ass, like, you're just trying to win games and get through it, because that is your job.
Yeah.
But are you having fun? Like, not really. But, like, it's not a school district. I brought him here. I'm the one that did it.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm mad, but I'm mad at myself. And so, like, when I get to it, I'm like, don't do it again. Like, don't do it again. Like, don't do it. It doesn't mean they're bad dudes. It just, you know, you got to be passionate about basketball. Like, you just do. Like, the guys on our team are passionate about basketball. And if you walk in here and you're a good basketball player and you're not passionate, it's not perfect for us.
Right. How have you been able to, I mean, how can you tell that with a 17, 18-year-old kid, 16-year-old kid, when you're recruiting them, like you've done so well, to obviously got a lot of guys that are passionate about basketball. What
the skill jumps out. So, like, guys that are really, really skilled, they're skilled because they're passionate about the game. They've put in more time about the game. Yeah. It's not the only indicator. You got to, like, see the one thing that recruiting, you have to understand this. When you take somebody, it's like marriage. You don't get a part of them. You get all of them, right? You get all of them.
Family too.
You get the cousins, you get the uncles, but at the end of the day, you got whoever's helping that kid make a decision. You got to be on common ground with them. You got to be able to go to them and say, hey, man, I need some help right here, and it not be personable about time or how you're getting used or things like that. It's like, you know, it's almost like, hey, man, like, look what I make. You think I'm gonna do something to jeopardize that? Like, just think, like, honest. My dad used to say that about Gene Katie. I would always come back and say, this stinks, this stinks, this stinks, this stinks. He says, well, he makes $1 million. You think he wants to keep that money or lose that money? And I'd be like, well, hell, like, what side are you on? He goes, I'm on your side, but I'm just trying to let you know he's not coaching you. He's coaching a team, and you got to fit in with that team. And that's the way it is. And that was, I've always used that from recruiting talks and talking to guys, but that's always really helped us. It's helped us retain people. It's helped us develop people. But more than anything, it's not the recruiting, it's the evaluation. The evaluation is so key to knowing who you're getting. Do they fit with you? And then that just kind of answers your question. With that being said, it's an inexact science.
What were the conversations like with Braden Smith in the offseason? I know there's a lot of, at least online scuttlebutt, rumors, everything about who knows what's going to happen with that, but then he decides to come back, thankfully. Yeah. What were those conversations like, if you had any about?
Yeah, kind of a story that relates to it. My first couple years when I had players, not really first couple years, probably like in the 5th or 6th year of my career, I didn't have a lot of guys that needed agents, that needed to get out there. And I called Billy Donovan and asked him, I'm like, how do you deal with all this? He said, you probably worried about everything and fought everything. And I said, yeah. And he just said, the best thing that you can do, he goes, because I did that too, is just have a good relationship with your players. He goes, if you have a good relationship with your players, that's all you can really control. If you try to control all that, he just says you're going to control nothing. And it was the best piece of advice. I talked about it at the media day. One of his former assistants worked for Sirius Radio, and we just started talking. It just came to me, and I just said, it was just a great piece of advice. And why I reached out to him, I don't know, but I did. And I knew him, but I didn't know him that well. And that's all I've ever done since then. Is just like, I'm gonna have a good relationship. I'm gonna be honest. I told Braden Smith when I recruited him that here's the deal. Here's the layout for you. If you beat somebody out, you know, you get it. It's just fair. I'm going to do what's best for Purdue. And so I think that really helps in retention, because guys want to play. We're not losing our starters. We're losing some guys that don't play. We're losing some guys that come off the bench. We're losing some guys that want more in their career, and that's totally understandable. But when a guy starts at Purdue and he plays all the time, like, what else do you want? like where we're at right now. Like, what in the hell? What else do you want? Especially him. Like where are you going where it's going to be laid out any better schematically, offensively for you with the ball in your hands and you playing to your strengths? Now, we do that because that's best for him, but more than that, we do that because that's best for us. Like, he's dynamite, man. He is a hell of a player. And so it doesn't mean that we don't try to hold him accountable, right? So I think, I joked at media day. I said, it's funny how people come at him. This happens, this offer happens, but he was never in the portal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so they really put those guys in a bad spot. And the way the rules are set up and the parameters of the rules, it's just not good for anybody. But I think when you tell people the truth and things have worked for them, and, guys are going to be loyal. But I explained that to them. I just said, if you go out on the free market, you're going to get more money. If you stay somewhere for 21 years like I have, you're going to make a little bit less. You just are. I haven't been out on the free market. But then I just said, you guys could have made, you're making about 60 to 70% of what you would have made out there. I go, but I'm probably making 60 to 70% what's out there too. The difference between me and them is I can keep doing this until I'm in my 70s if I want to. They have a short window. They really have a short window. I think Braden Smith's an NBA player for 10 years, just like I thought Zach Edey was. When you see somebody every day, you got a pretty good pulse. Some of those guys that aren't our team that don't get that, opportunity, that's who you feel for a little bit here, because now they've sacrificed too. So right away, we always start the season by saying everybody is going to sacrifice to help us win. We've had guys not getting games that help us win games. It's a real it's a backhanded compliment, but it's still a compliment where obviously these guys play, but they already have sacrificed for our season, right? Because now them leaving when they're going to be the all-time winningest player, when they had a chance for a national championship, get a Purdue degree, and their legacy. And I've never really liked all that. Like, what's your legacy going to be? I'm like, boy, that's stupid. Like, who cares? But no, when you're special and you've put yourself in there, he could be the all-time assist leader. He could leave a national champ. There's just so many positive, but also Purdue's a very loyal place. And if you're loyal to Purdue, man, and for a guy like Braden Smith, walking back into this arena for the next 50 years, I hope nobody catches him buying popcorn. He shouldn't be buying any popcorn. He should get his popcorn for free. But no, it was just the same thing with Fletch, the same thing with TK. It was just they've shown their loyalty, but they're also goal-driven. And the best place for them to reach their goals was at Purdue.
A lot of talk about Braden, Trey, Fletch. So I want to venture off to maybe some guys that haven't gotten nearly the pub I think they should have gotten leading into the start of the season. Two in particular that why they aren't getting talked about more, at least nationally, I don't know. But C.J. Cox and Jakari Harris, to me, at least what I've seen, Coach, in the offseason, they're as improved as anyone you've ever had.
Yeah, both of them have played well here. G's played really well. He just had that tough stretch to start the season where he didn't shoot well.
Right.
Now you go look at his overall numbers. He really shot well once he started coming off the bench. And it's low volume. It's harder when you're, playing anywhere from, 10 to 20 minutes. It's hard to get that rhythm, but he did. And he really helped us. And CJ had a really good year, and he really took that opportunity of starting. Whereas CJ was really consistent was as a two-way player. He can pressure the basketball because you have to fit in with Braden, Fletch, and TK.
Right.
And he really fit there and did some really good things. They both have played well. CJ's actually led us in competitive drills. He's won 80% of his games, which is really hard to do. I talked about it earlier in the year. About 2 years ago, we had two good teams in practice. Last year, we had one good team. And there's nothing wrong with it. You get judged on one team. You don't get judged on two teams. And now we're back to having two good teams, but we also got 6 guys on each team that you feel really good about. And so our competition every single day has been great. But both of those guys, have been super. They play alongside 3 people that are going to play 30 minutes. That's the only downside that you can people say, well, I'm not sure. When they get Omer Meyer's there too. Antoine West is there too. And so, like, there's other people there. There's going to be some times this year, probably with the two guys that you mentioned, is that like, well, why didn't this guy play? And it's going to have nothing to do with them. It's going to be the other guy just came in and played well, or the other guy started off the game and played well. Like, and I would have that happen with those guys before when Miles was in that equation. Would it be Miles, G, CJ? If somebody came in and blistered 3 threes or like whatever, like you just kind of stuck with them longer. Like you just did, because if you could make shots alongside those 3 guys and then our big guys can play like I think they're going to play, that's a perfect, offensive efficiency right there.
Daniel Jacobson, healthy, good, ready to go.
Yeah.
What have you seen from him leading up to the season?
Yeah, he plays better in scrimmages and competitive stuff and 5-on-5 stuff than he does in the practice piece of it, probably because I'm a bad ref and I don't call fouls at practice. And so, but kind of what I look at, like not really his Achilles or Oscar's Achilles, but definitely different. Like Oscar is different than Daniel and vice versa. So that when they match up all the time in practice, they're just helping each other. Mm-hmm. They're just getting better through competition. I think that's something with Braden also, is that Antoine West is a very, very good on-ball defender. And, him guarding Braden all the time, when CJ wasn't there to guard Braden in practice because he was with him, like now you didn't have that next guy. That next guy was solid, but it wasn't like off the charts. Like Antoine West can really defend. So I think that piece is really, really helped Daniel. And just the confidence of playing USA basketball again and just getting that experience of getting back into competition and then having, a month of practice.
So therein lies, I guess, the greatest problem that one coach can have. You literally have 12 guys that can help this year's team.
Correct.
But I've been with you all 21 years. I've never seen you play 12 in a game.
No.
So
I struggle to play 10.
Right,
I've tried playing 10 a couple times, and that doesn't where it's not going to work for me. The one thing about depth, and I think fans need to take this in, because everybody looks at like when you have a lot of big guys, playing bigger is better, when in reality, if they're good, it's better. There's more big guys out there that stink than being good. Like, you'd be amazed how many times I go recruiting and I'm tracking down a 7'2" guy and I get there and I'm like, he can't catch the basketball. Like, I'm going in a different direction here. But it's just true. And so for us, I think it's going to be important to understand that depth's there when we need it. But if you play everybody and you play 10 and you get into that bench a lot, you're not playing your best players all the time. You're taking away from your best players. And you can do what you want if you have your own team, but I'm playing my best players. And so, like, I think that piece of it, when you say it that way, people light up to that. They understand that piece of it. You're like, man, why don't you give him or my assistants say about Braden all the time. Like, why don't you give him more of a break? Why don't you give me like a little bit here? And now he'll be better at the end of the games. I said, well, I think he's really good at the end of the games. And then when he's out for that 3 minutes, it scares the hell out of me. Yeah. Now it's a little different now because we have more ball handlers. So Omer helps in that area. Antoine helps in that area. And so it could be a little bit where they're right. They weren't right before. They could be right now, though.
I saw in Media Day you were talking about how in last season didn't necessarily fully embrace the return to the Final Four.
Right.
And now with this year removed again, and you have the number 1 preseason ranking, all the national title expectations and hopes. Is that going to be something you're going to kind of take on full steam ahead?
Yeah, it's what we do. And so like we've talked about it and we've discussed it, and it really what it gets down to is like anything that happens, because like adversity is going to shape you. But like anything that happens, it's good to always take a step back and said, okay, is this helping us get to where we're in the Final Four competing for a national championship? And it's always a good barometer for a coach. It's always a good barometer for a player, because you're going to have some back and forth. You're going to have, if you have a highly competitive team, you're going to have some times when you have that internal fighting. You just do, whether it's, arguing in practice or going at each other. Like that sometimes doesn't look healthy, but it is healthy because you have to be on edge and you have to be competitive. But it's something that we will continue to talk. I talked about it before and just like, talking into existence. I actually use different words that I tried to stop, but, talk it into existence because it's true. Like now, like that's your purpose. Like that, you can't lose purpose in life, but you definitely can't lose purpose in basketball. The best way I've heard it put, you'll never have a complete puzzle. Your puzzle will never be complete. Ever. We're preseason number 1. We don't have a complete puzzle. Something's coming. Foul trouble, injuries, something. Someone's upset. Exactly. But it's coming. And when it does, it's how you handle it. Because everybody has issues.
Coach Painter, thank you. Helping us get our preseason basketball primer on the podcast here off and running, and we'll look forward to visiting you throughout the season.
Cool. Thanks,
Coach.
This reminder, Purdue basketball fans, first game of the year. It's an exhibition game, but it's a pretty important one. Friday, October the 24th, Purdue in Lexington to face the 9th-ranked Kentucky Wildcats at Rupp Arena. Again, it's an exhibition game, but if you've gone online and looked at the get-in-the-building prices, I don't know if it's an exhibition or not. It's going to feel like a real game Friday in Lexington. We will take a short break. Let's talk some Purdue women's basketball on the other side of this timeout. Katie Geralds joins us next to talk Purdue women's hoops on the podcast that is known as For Pete's Sake, the official podcast of Purdue Athletics. And with that, we welcome you back, everyone, For Pete's Sake, the official podcast of Purdue Athletics. We promised you Coach Katie Geralds before we took a short break, and wouldn't you know it, here she is, sitting to our left, the fifth-year head coach of our Boilermaker women's basketball program, the former Boilermaker herself, KG, joins us. Katie, nice to see you. How are things?
Doing great so far. We're sitting undefeated right now, so
everyone's in a good mood in the preseason, aren't they?
Great mood right now.
Look, let's be fair. Last year, I know you weren't in a great mood
No.
often. 10-19 last year, 3-15 in the Big Ten. 10 new faces on this team, more than anyone else in the Big Ten. 10 new faces. I know you'd hit that transfer portal hard. I guess a really open-ended question here. When you began transfer portaling this offseason, what is it you were looking for, and do you feel like you got what you were looking for?
We wanted to get more athletic. We wanted to get longer on the perimeter, and we wanted to get shot making. 3 things we kind of lacked last year, and I think we did a pretty solid job. We could put 4 kids on the floor that shoot over 40% from 3, so give us some space inside, and then get our guards downhill. We want to play faster. Every coach says that, let's play faster, right? But we've been pretty intentional all summer, all fall, of trying to figure out how we want to play faster and how it looks for us. A lot of one-on-ones with Jenny Busek from the Pacers, a lot of Zoom calls with her, sitting down and really diving into how the Pacers play. You look at their roster; they don't have obviously Ty's like a star,
right?
But he's not like the star of the NBA, right? So the ball moves and pops, and there's spacing, and everybody shoots it. A lot of unpredictability with their offense, and that's kind of the way we wanted to lean into. And our kids have done a great job of really buying into it so far.
So there's been one-on-ones with
Jenny,
Jenny and individual players, or just all together?
Right, just us talking to her, texting her, doing Zoom calls with the team, the staff. Trying to figure out how do we show them Pacer clips. You watch Ben Shepherd comes in and just sprints to the opposite corner as fast as he can, right? You watch those guys just sprint to corners, have great spacing in the full court. Whether you're getting rim runs from Pascal, last year was Miles in the trail. So try to figure out how does our team match up to that, and how can we use that to our advantage to be successful? So it's been fun so far.
Yeah, what a resource to have.
Yeah.
Especially after last year for the blue and gold. Now, Rob mentioned transfer portal hard. Wanted to introduce Boilermaker fans, if they're not familiar yet, with Nia Smith from UNC Greensboro and Tara Day.
Perfect. Okay.
From St. John's. What can we expect from them? I know that you're fairly high on them coming into the season.
Yeah. Tara's a tough kid. Straight from Jersey. So a little different than a lot of Midwest folks that we got around here, but it's been a perfect fit for our team. She brings this toughness, dog-like attitude that just straight competitor. She played at St. John's, was at DePaul before, played a lot of minutes. Didn't play last year. The year before, played like 30-something minutes for St. John's. Someone who we feel really comfortable guarding the other team's best perimeter player. She's done a really good job of she's played a lot of 4 at St. John's, being undersized, but we moved her on the ball and then off the ball. So someone who can get up in the open floor, disrupt for 94 feet and then put pressure on somebody to make them guard in half court because she gets it downhill quite a bit. Naya, man, she shoots like 40-something% from the 3. She's like this coach's dream because the more she continues to evolve, the more she has a chance to be really, really special. Her body has started to fill out, lifting here with Chaz, getting stronger. Knockdown shooter, great athlete, long arm. Both those kids are going to be able to really, really make some changes for us defensively.
What about Taylor Feldman, Northern Arizona? I think when you and I spoke late last offseason or early in the offseason, you kind of targeted her as being one you really wanted to get, and you did.
Yeah, we did. We wanted a shooting point guard, someone who could score it, someone who could put pressure on the defense when teams go drop coverage and underneath ball screens. Taylor can shoot it from the perimeter. But on top of that, even for her size, she gets to the free throw line at a high clip. Shot, I don't even know, you have to ask Ian all the numbers, how many free throws she shot last year, but it was a lot more than anybody else on our team, and shoots it at a high level. Slowly working her way back into, had a little bit of a small injury over the summer, so she's not quite back, but I anticipate her being back, ready to go when we really get this thing rocking.
Another addition to this year's squad, familiar face, formerly Madison Layden.
Yeah.
Now Madison Layden Zay.
Yeah.
Conversations about her returning came about when, and how did you convince her to make a return?
She actually approached us, and it was like probably alumni day last year. Kenna came, and she, her sister's on the team, was like, hey, you have time to sit down and talk with Madison? I'm like, yeah, is this good news? And she's like, yeah, I think it's really good news. I thought Madison's pregnant,
Yeah.
She's been married a year. I was like, okay, this kid's having that's what you coaches want. You want that relationship. You want the kid to you be invited to their wedding, for them to tell you what's significant in their life happening. Yeah. She sits down on the couch. She's like, Coach, I want to play. And I'm like, whoa, okay. So let's figure out, do you have eligibility, right? Because she played 4 years, wanted to go to compliance, making sure she still had her COVID year available. And then it was a matter, she jumped in the portal. So we did have to kind of like re-recruit her. Some people were knocking on her door to get her to go down to like sunny Florida and play her last year there, right? Right. So we want to make sure we did a good job recruiting her. And she's been great, fantastic. She's like the Madison Layden that everybody came to love. Her first year's here, and I anticipate her having a really, really fun year for us.
That is a great story. Shows up for Alumni Day and says, hey, could I be?
Oh, yeah, I got it. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
And when you're a 1,000-point career scorer, yes, you're probably going to welcome her back with open arms.
And if all things go well, she stays healthy, knock on wood, she's got a really good chance to be our all-time leader in three-point field goals made. I wouldn't want anything different for her. She's, a Boilermaker through and through, for her to play 4 years and go on with her life and get married and start a married life. And, let's do this. And it really was a conversation of like, Coach, I think I can help you win. I'm sitting in the stands watching Kenna. I know what you're trying to do. I want to help Purdue win. And, who wouldn't want a 1,000-point scorer, back on their squad? So we'll take it. And she's been great for us.
And you mentioned 200 career three-pointers. Not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all.
So transition for her coming back with all these new faces, everything's just meshed together pretty well so far.
Yeah, it's like we've talked about it. She's like, I was working 8:30 to 5:30. That's so like
we still had better.
Like, what do we
to
do?
Take some new teammates rather than new coworkers, right?
Yeah. She's like, now I get to go to practice for 3 hours. That's it. Like, this is great. Can I do this every year for the rest of my life? Right?
Sure is.
Yeah.
Hey, do you want to talk about, we talked about the number of new players you have, a new addition to the staff as well. April Phillips comes on board, who has some head coaching experience, San Jose State. How nice is it to have an assistant who has been in your chair as a head coach and understands how that is? No
doubt. Really wanted to find somebody who kind of had been in that seat. It's a different kind of seat, and AP has been a great addition to our staff, has the 3 years of head coaching experience, but also was on Arizona's staff, Texas staff. So she's worked with Dick Shaver. She's worked with high level coaches across the country. Honestly known as one of the best recruiters in the country, and really connects us to the West Side. She's from California, so the West Side of the country, we're kind of open up our horizons a little bit and try to dig into finding talent over there and bringing them back to the Midwest.
How about newcomer from Brownsburg, Indiana, Avery Gordon?
Yep.
The tallest player in program history at 6'7".
Yep.
How has the transition for her been from the high school game to the collegiate game so far that you've seen, and what can Boilermakers expect from her?
I think her ceiling is so high, and I don't want to put any pressure on her or anything about like think about how good she could be. But if she continues on the path that we see, I think she has the opportunity to like really, really have her number hanging in the rafters one day. Like I think she just has that upside. At 6'7", you just don't teach it, right? She's got soft hands. She moves her feet well. Now at the same time, the game moves fast for her right now.
Sure.
And so really trying to making sure we simple things down and put her in the best position to be successful. But even our guys, right? Our practice guys, like, how do you stop that, right? Like you get in trouble, you just throw the ball to the rim and you find Avery and she catches and scores it. So.
Look, I understand last year there weren't a whole lot of highlights, but I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Lana McCarthy and the season she had as a freshman last year. Felt to me like she was the one consistent that you really had throughout the season.
Yeah, Lana was great, and there's just no for her and KP both, like there's no substitute for game experience.
Yeah.
And even though we were getting our tails kicked, they were going against Lauren Betts, right? Like they were going against Alexis Morkowski. There's just no substitute for it. And then come spring, it's KP, it's Lana, it's Kenna. Those are the three we have left, right? Everybody else isn't on our roster anymore. And so really, really got a lot of one-on-one time with Lana. KP and Kenna had postseason surgery, a lot of one-on-one time with Lana. And whether it was in the weight room at 6 a.m., I think she's gotten me stronger. And then on the court, we worked really hard to kind of elevate her game and continue to take steps. And her and KP both have been great leaders for Avery, playing that position, being so young. Obviously, we're young inside. They're both sophomores, and Avery's a freshman, but there's just been no substitution for the amount of playing time that those two got last year.
Coach, last one for me. This is one I'm certain you didn't get at Media Day. I'm a fellow Southsider myself.
Yep.
Roncalli kid. Have you ever been to Vito Provolone's?
I have. My sister and her husband, that was where the rehearsal dinner was. So that's
my
actually,
sister and her husband too.
No way, yeah.
Look at that, Rob.
Yeah, it's actually
I was so fearful that this is where this conversation.
No, I'm telling you,
Two Southsiders.
No, it's a great spot. It's a great spot.
Yes.
Kind of like sits on the corner of a strip, and
it's very nondescript.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think it's the best Italian food in probably the state, and then you go in and it's just everything.
But as a former Beech Grove Hornet, what are your real thoughts on Roncalli?
Don't
hold back.
I like Joey, so
Thanks, Kate.
yeah, we'll.
Yeah. Wait, once you get past, once you graduate from there, then now we just Boilermakers.
Now we're it's black and gold now, Rob.
Okay. KG, good luck to you.
You
For our
guys.
Purdue women's basketball fans, you need to know this exhibition game, the first, the only one of the season, comes Monday, October 27th, 7 o'clock at Mackey Arena. Our Boilermakers will play Purdue Northwest. And then the season gets started for real Monday, November 3rd, when Fairleigh Dickinson is in town for a 7 o'clock tip-off for the first real game of the 2025-26 season. Thank you, Coach.
I appreciate you guys.
Enjoyed visiting with you. One more segment to come here on For Pete's Sake, the official podcast of Purdue Athletics. Stay with us. Final segment of For Pete's Sake, the official podcast of Purdue Athletics. Rob Blackman, Joey Mulinaro putting the finishing touches on this one. As if we weren't excited enough, Joey, about Purdue men's basketball and the start of the college hoop season. After visiting with Matt Painter, I feel even more confident that our team is at least on their way to some great things this year.
What a guy. Absolutely. This is actually my first time talking to Coach Painter. So it was great to finally get that conversation. And yeah, I mean, look, whether it's depth, whether it's star power, returning players, all the above, this team has just about everything that you could want, and it's going to be a hell of a season.
Don't forget, Boilermaker fans, exhibition game against number 9 Kentucky at Rupp Arena coming up Friday night. That's October the 24th, Friday night. And then The very next day, we'll need you right back here, by the way, at on campus, because on the 25th, Saturday, 12 noon, it is homecoming Saturday for the football Boilermakers.
Yes, going to be a big one. Like you said, we got Northwestern this weekend. You got Rutgers homecoming the following weekend, and 2 opportunities to get this train back on the tracks, Rob, because you've been right there the last few weeks. Just haven't been able to put it all together. So exciting times, and ready to get back up to Ross-Ade for sure. That'll be the next time that we talk to everybody here.
Correct. Following that Rutgers game. And look, fans, if you have not been to Ross-Ade Stadium to watch the Boilermakers play yet this year, you are running out of opportunities. Saturday, October 25 against Rutgers, and then just 2 home games left on the schedule in November with Ohio State, currently ranked number 1 in the country, coming to Ross-Ade Stadium. And then, of course, the bucket game against Indiana on Thanksgiving weekend. Thanks to my broadcast partner, Joey Molinaro. Thanks to all of you who joined us here this particular episode 5 of For Pete's Sake, the official podcast of Purdue Athletics. Big thanks, of course, to the 2 coaches that were with us today, Coach KG, Katie Geralds, and Coach Matt Painter. Appreciate them giving us a little bit of their time, I should say. And for all of those that do the hard work behind the scenes, we thank them as well. With that in mind, have a great next couple of weeks, everyone. We'll talk again following that Rutgers football game coming up in late October. We hope you have enjoyed this episode 5 of For Pete's Sake, the official podcast of Purdue Athletics.
Order up.